Hi, everyone. It's Lynn Davenport and Mary Lowe with another episode of Tick Ed. It's been a while since we've done one of these. A lot going on in the way of charters. This week, we had a huge expose finally that was released by a reporter named Brett Shipp. And Brett used to be with WFAA in Dallas, where his dad was also a reporter with WFAA. And so he has a ton of experience in investigative journalism, and he's been tracking Mike Morath ever since the commissioner of TEA was on the Dallas ISD school board. So last year, Brett and I attended this virtual school board meeting with Mike Miles Charter School, Third Future Charters in Colorado. This was last June. And there was a big smoking gun that was revealed during the meeting. And Brett and I were like, did we just hear that right? Listening to Mike Miles, who was appointed by the TEA commissioner to head up Houston ISD. He's appointed as the new superintendent over Houston ISD, which is being taken over by the state because of House Bill 1842, which Mike Morath was intimately involved in the writing of that bill because he tried to take over Dallas ISD with the mayor and Todd Williams, founder of the Commit Partnership, yada, yada, yada. And this is a long, convoluted story. Just know it's been going on for about 10 years. So Brett has been working for almost a year trying to get this story out there, but it's very complicated. They had to do public information requests in Aurora, Colorado, where Third Future is, where Mike Miles has set up charter schools there in Colorado. After he was chased out of Dallas ISD, where Mike Miles was the superintendent from 2012 to 2015, he was chased out, went to Colorado, set up these charter schools. And fast forward, now that Mike Morath is the TEA commissioner, he has granted this charter school access to these schools in Texas to do a turnaround plan. So
So
yeah, go
can we
ahead.
talk just a minute about Mike Miles and DISD?
Yes,
So you and I went last June to Houston to testify to try to keep them from appointing Mike Miles.
that's right.
And the
August
reason
or July. When do we go
it,
there?
I think it was June 9th. I looked back at
June.
photos and I think it was around June 9th, but I could, again, that's just memory. Um, it was hot. Uh, but when he was in Dallas, he did leave in a cloud of smoke. And there are plenty of teachers that are still in the area that fled the district because of him. And I think that the number was over 1,000.
Yes.
And that's a lot of teachers to have
No,
leave a
10.
district.
No. Are you talking Dallas? 10,100. They
What?
turned over, yes, they turned over nearly the entire, yes, teaching force in Dallas ISD. It was devastating. Institutional memory out the door. Yes, it was
10,000?
massive. Yes, we have the receipt on that.
I'd
Yeah, so
forgotten that.
Lori Kirkpatrick was she ran for school board the same year that I did. She ran in Dallas, I ran in Richardson ISD, so we connected. And yes, so she did the information requests, and yes. So
Wow.
okay, but more importantly, so Miles, why they brought him in? So Mike Morath, while Mike Morath was on the school board, started in 2011. They brought in Mike Miles because of his merit pay plan from Colorado.
Right.
So merit pay has been tried for over a decade. The Gates Foundation finally quit attempting to do this. They spent $575 million to tie teacher pay to test scores. Well, you and I know that test scores are tied to incomes, really. That's really
Right.
the biggest factor
Right.
is your income level. So, okay.
Well,
So
and
we
again, we
digress.
also know that all classrooms are not equal, and that if someone wanted to have a negative reflection on a particular teacher, they can stack that classroom with challenged students so
Yeah.
that that teacher gets. I mean, that it's another way of baking or cooking the books.
Yeah.
And so it's just a flawed idea. But okay, so he comes in and he does that, and there's this huge turnover. And as a result of the story that dropped that Brett Shipp did, I have been inundated with people reaching out that worked in DISD under Mike Miles, telling me the most egregious stories of things that occurred under Mike Miles. And one of them actually shared that at one point they had a Facebook page that was about all the things that Mike Miles was doing that were illegal or egregious or detrimental to students. I mean, it's unbelievable. So this has gone on for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
So when we went to Houston and testified, it was with boots on the ground, front row seats to his carnage. And it has been washed over as a success by this commissioner, Mike Morath. And everywhere Mike Morath goes, there is there are these questionable things that just consistently occur. So we are no longer like this is a one-off. This is a pattern of behavior.
Right.
And I may be jumping ahead.
Past history is a good indicator of future behavior. So if you look, right, and see, this is the kind of the reformster playbook, is that you go in and you blow things up, you cause all kinds of chaos and calamity, like a tornado, and then you come in and you got the solution. It's like an arsonist firefighter.
Yeah.
So they're basically setting fires all over the district, and then they'll send in the cleanup crew. So they sent Miles, military guy. His sister was also military, Department of Defense. She was fired. That's public record. So they have this kind of military sort of style of how they operate. And then when he leaves, he doesn't mind. He lacks, if you watch the way that he operates, he doesn't have empathy, and the way he interacts is
robotic. It's disconnected.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so slimy in his
in condescending.
In that Houston Chronicle. I logged on to the Houston Chronicle webinar, and I just, it's like, wow. I mean, this man is totally spinning this story, and I believe it's going to come back to haunt him. I mean, honestly, he wasn't sworn under oath in the things that he was saying, but the facts, the printed facts, do not line up with what this man was saying in this Houston Chronicle interview.
No, in the Houston Chronicle, the Dallas Morning News, which they've been silent on this, which I find interesting, but the Houston Chronicle is essentially giving him a mouthpiece. They give him the microphone to give a rebuttal. Well, Brett has all the receipts, so not all the transactions. So basically, the issue is Texas is diverting funds for public education to Colorado to keep Miles failing Colorado charter school Third Future afloat. So they had to close Capernaum 2, which is one of their charter schools. And on the video, the Zoom board meeting for Third Future, that's where Brett and I heard the superintendent say that they're going to have to find the money to keep them afloat. So that's a huge issue. Well,
they found the money. They know where, everybody knows where they can find money. Mike Morath is where they find money. Everyone, whether it's James Tallarico, it does not matter. Everyone who wants to find the money, Evan Baer, they go directly to Mike Morath, because the TEA is the place that this state funnels the money through to get the crony deals out and to support their donors and advance their own agenda.
And this is all on Governor Greg Abbott. And I really want to be careful that we don't make this about a left-right issue, because if you look at who's involved in this, Todd Williams is an avowed Democrat. Mike Morath would say, at least he pretends to be conservative. Greg Abbott, Republican. So Greg
Abbott is not a constitutional Republican. He is a globalist.
But he still claims to be in the Republican Party. He's a Republican governor, a Republican ticket. So my point is that this is a bipartisan thing. And Todd Williams, he was appointed by the governor to 4 boards and commissions with education relating to the state and the dollars. So this is a massive Ponzi scheme of epic proportions. So for Brett to be able to get this on the air, it's gone viral. He has other stories that are going to drop. We've heard that the FBI has been in Aurora, Colorado. We've
Yes.
also heard that the FBI has been in Houston ISD. So this is getting the attention of the feds because they do take federal dollars, Title I dollars. They do take state dollars. But the thing is, so with this failing charter school model, they're declining in enrollment. That's why they had to close Capernaum too. But if you look at the whole budget for Third Future, they're paying roughly 40% of the whole budget on undisclosed administrative costs. So Brett, and think about that. And this is Texas money that is being sent to Colorado supplement, and it's being funneled to them by our TEA commissioner. So they will say that, oh, well, under Senate Bill 1882, which Morath and Todd Williams were deeply involved in the commit partnership back when that passed. And I think that was the 85th or 6th legislature. It was several back.
Yeah.
So
we need to repeal 1882 and 1842. Yeah.
We do. So that's the gist of that. Now he does have the payments. There are a couple payments, to the tune of $1 million. So he put that in this YouTube video that Spectrum is where he works, and Spectrum has done a fantastic job of not only covering the story, allowing Brett the creative liberties to address this massive the scale of fraud, waste, and abuse. And then the graphics along with the video. So it's great. And then we have other people and other media outlets have picked up the story, like Fox and
26.
And Houston Chronicle did cover it, but it was Miles' rebuttal. So they really gave him a chance to defend himself, and it's just not true what they're using as excuses. It's just not true. Brett has the evidence. The evidence is from their financial statements. The evidence is from public information requests, and the evidence is from their own mouths, which we heard in the meeting. And then he has another employee on record saying what they're doing with the funds. So,
okay, I want to ask a couple of questions and bring a couple of things, because hindsight is always very clear. You and I have had our tentacles alerted since the appropriations hearing of the 88 tentacles, our feelers, whatever. We've had our antennas up. Is it not a tentacle?
No, they have tentacles. We have antenna.
We have antenna. Okay, that's right. They have tentacles and we have antenna. We have God's wisdom. We have God's wisdom alerting us.
They have tentacles.
So we listened to the appropriations hearing, and the most stunning thing occurred in the appropriations hearing at the 88th session was that the amount of money that is being collected from Robinhood, which is the redistribution of taxpayer dollars, which is what a voucher is. So Robinhood and charter schools are both redistribution of taxpayer dollars in the education sphere. Again, that's what a voucher is. And the shocking thing that occurred to me was that the dollars that were being scooped in from Robinhood were 0.05% different from the dollars that were going out in charters. And I could not let that go. And
I clued the end of that. That was back probably 2017 or so. And Lori Kirkpatrick, I mentioned her before. So yeah, it was like 2.7 billion versus 2.8 billion. So the amount, so basically you could draw the conclusion that the money allocated for charter schools from the state is almost equal to the amount that is Recapture. So it's a way to, it's not a direct line from Recapture to charters, but it is a line.
But Lynn, I don't even know that we can say it's not a direct line, because honestly, there's no transparency.
From account to account.
It's
not a straight line. It takes a few twists and turns, but it ends up, the money is funding the charter schools. So Recapture. So anybody who supports charter schools while also fighting Recapture, they can't have it both ways. It's connected. It was
Right.
just a way to divert the funds. It's just like what Brett revealed. They're diverting Texas dollars, public school dollars that are supposed to be going to public schools and our children in our public schools is being diverted to a charter school to keep it afloat in Colorado. And that same charter is being used to do these turnaround plans, and they game that system too. Basically, like Mendez Middle School, which Miles is supposedly running as a turnaround campus in Austin. The game is, if you look at the population of the school before the takeover and after that turnaround plan gets in there, look at the number of special ed children that are in there. Look at the total number of kids in the school. Smaller schools are
Right.
easier to run. So they start cherry kicking out students
Yes.
to game the system to make it look like they're performing higher than when they got there. It's a
Right.
game, they know. And look, if Morath knows, you and I have testified before the state board and the legislature. He cooks, he moves the goalposts. They cook the books. They have all their little strategies for making a district look better like Dallas, or look worse if they want to take it over. Keep in mind,
What?
Dallas has a lower rating than Houston, but we're taking over Houston.
So,
Dallas lower B.
right. Right. So we testified to that. But okay, one of the things I want to go back to is this cooking the books.
Yeah.
And I want people to be alerted that there's a new form of the STAR test. And this new form of the STAR test allows him greater opaqueness in his book cooking on the grades.
Okay.
Okay. Because every student's test is different based on their success. It becomes easier as they miss a question. It goes to an easier question. So it basically takes diversity, equity, and inclusion, and or in what we fight, DEI and CRT and equity, not equal opportunity, but equal outcome. And
Right.
it enforces equal outcome. And so that is one of the ways that he is cooking the books. And when we say, people have been yelling, we want to get rid of the STAR test, they're going to say, we're going to get rid of the STAR test. Here it is.
Oh, I just got a message
That he's piloting right now under STAR, but they'll take the STAR off of it once they get it where they want it and call it something else. So the lack of transparency that we see at the local level is horrifically deeper at the state level and at the TEA. And whether it's on purpose or not on purpose, the Texas legislature is emboldening the Texas Education Agency via their relationship with Mike Morath and their willingness to give him whatever he asks for to continue to cook the books and be deceptive. And I mentioned that.
Brett just sent me this. So it says HISD students plan walkout as investigation launches into state appointed superintendent Mike Miles. So the kids.
Great. Yeah, we're behind that. So now I want to make sure as we wrap this up that everybody does understand that this is not that we had a SpedX that Mike Morath was involved in, the selling of kids' data. Where did that money go?
It's data.
Special needs kids' data.
Extra egregious. And he basically entered into a contract, a no bid sole source contract with a startup out of Atlanta run by a Teach for America guy, Richard Nyancorey. Nyancorey is well, you can do your research on Nyancorey, but
okay.
He has his own.
And then I want to go to where we are today, that he bought Amplify on a no bid contract. And then it's very clear, we have the documentation that it was on a no bid contract. We went to Dick Weekly and exposed it to Dick Weekly and asked Dick Weekly to hold him accountable. And he came back to Dick Weekly, and we have the copy of that where he said, no, that was not a no bid contract. And then the next thing you know, all of that no bid has been concealed because Texas legislator passed 1605, giving him the authority to buy what he had already done without any authority.
Yeah. And how crazy. So, I mean, people don't understand. Billionaire Dick Weekly he works through lobbying efforts in a PAC and Texans for Lawsuit Reform, which is one of the most powerful lobbying organizations in Texas. So that's the connection to Dick Weekly, why we have to go through a billionaire on education bills. But that's how we were told. If you want anything done,
Yeah, well, that is how we were told.
we did.
So we did, yes. So anyway, just and make sure that everybody understands it's not the first one, and also understand that as an organization and as individuals, we believe charter schools have a place and a point in our education system. We
No,
just
I don't believe that. I mean, maybe if they exist, they have real children in there, we care about them. But no, I don't agree with that. I
Okay.
don't.
Well, I think that there's some benefit. I think that when they're special, like some of the magnet schools, or if there's a charter school that is specific for dyslexia, I think that those are beneficial.
Our
But
public schools should be doing that, and if they're not, then we need to get to the bottom of that. But I don't know.
well,
I mean,
we do need to get to bottom. I appreciate that we can, even though people don't realize that we disagree, and we can still be in relationship with each other. And isn't that wonderful? If only we can get
I just
people.
wanted it to be on the record that I do not support.
I gotcha. Well, I'm not opposed to charter schools. This is not a vendetta against charter schools. I'm
No,
opposed to the
it's a
privatization and the
privatization, right?
lies.
Right, and
Yeah,
privatization that removes because charters they don't have locally elected boards. It's
right,
taxation without representation. We're not for that. So if they can
right.
shift public dollars into private hands, we're not for that.
Well, honestly, I think charter schools should be unshackled from the government, honestly. But I mean, that's
Then
a
that's a
different
private
conversation.
school. That's a private school.
Right. So, well, the private schools are not even unshackled because some of them are accredited. So it's so convoluted, and they do want it to be convoluted. But
Yeah.
with all that said, we want our taxpayers to understand what is happening and to understand that they must be very vocal to their representatives right now and consistently until something is done and there is accountability.
Mhm.
There is zero accountability for your tax dollars that go through the Texas Education Agency, and our ISDs are all underfunded because of the unfunded mandates that the Texas legislature has passed. Meanwhile, we have money going to Colorado, and you're having your school districts pass bonds so that they
Right.
can have reasonable schools. And this is ridiculous because there is too much waste. And this is an area that you must ask your senators, why aren't you holding the governor accountable? And why aren't you holding Mike Morath accountable? Because our government works from the bottom up. It is not work from the top down. In this election cycle, it has worked from the top down. And if taxpayers do not vocalize in a very specific manner that they are not okay with the government operating from the top down, then they will ultimately lose the right to have a representative form of government. And here is the place. It's about fiscal accountability. It's directly linked to your tax dollars being taken out of your community. And in this case, used in a Ponzi scheme. So please reach out to us.
Yeah, but what we're asking for is an audit of TEA, and I'm not saying a bread and butter,
No.
audit of insiders. If we had the legislators, bipartisan support and political will of the politicians to say, we want an audit of TEA. If we have to do it ourselves, we want all of the contracts that are running through there. We can get the people to do that. But if everyone's asking for it and all eyes are on TEA, we could actually get it done without spending any money on a fake audit. The box guarding.
And
We don't
we were
want that.
told by some senators that they were going to get it on the interim charges for there to be an external forensic audit of TEA, but yet it doesn't happen. So I
You
think
just
you
have
have
to
to.
name names of the contracts. Safal Partners and Gates Foundation, how they're doing Educate Texas, how they're paying the Commit Partnership for data harvesting. I mean, these things are public knowledge. I know about it. And you can look at the check register of the TEA. Why is all this money going to all of these special interests and these groups and these nonprofits and these fake, consulting arms?
Well,
Yeah.
who's covering it up? Is the governor covering this up, or is the
Yeah,
lieutenant?
governor, and then you got people like Julie Pickering. I mean, she could use her bully pulpit on the state board. They all need to be using their bully pulpit on the state board. They could solve this, even though they're not fiduciaries over the budget necessarily. They have a role. They're elected, and they are closely engaged with the TEA. They could really turn the tide on this because there's a lot of waste going through that agency.
So call to
That's it.
action.
So, yeah,
Get
call
on
that.
your calendar, June 25th through the 28th. The SBOE will be reviewing and either voting um, for or against charter school expansion. And we're asking for a moratorium on the approval of any charter schools until there is a complete accountability for taxpayer funding. And we would also ask that you reach out to your senators and tell them that you specifically want to know why Mike Morath was not brought up for reconfirmation under the new Senate and why he has been given a pass on so
Why is he a
many.
holdover when he should be given a confirmation hearing where we can all show up and testify? Because Brett was there and other
Yes.
people were there to testify to say he's pre-screened. He is not qualified for this job and he's not a good fit for TEA commissioner. And they ignored that. Brian Birdwell, Don Buckingham, Don Huffines, they ignored the warnings of the parents and teachers and people who showed up who knew who Mike Morath was before he was appointed. And I forgot to say, Brett Shipp is with Spectrum now, and Spectrum is where that news story broke.
And you can also find it at Families Engaged on Facebook, and we'll have it linked to it on the website shortly, familiesengaged.org. Lynn, thanks. I appreciate it very much.
Okay. Stop recording.